What's going on, Pokemon fans? My name is Blaze, and today I want to talk to you about Dynamaxing in the new Pokemon Sword and Shield games coming out in November. Dynamaxing is a new feature that was just revealed, I think, last month in June, right before E3, and then shown off in a little bit more detail during E3. They also had a new trailer just a couple of days ago that talked about Gigantamaxing as kind of another I guess, a more in-depth look at Dynamaxing. So it's kind of the same thing, but a little bit different, which I'll talk about that a little bit later too. But today, there's a lot of information about Dynamaxing, and I wanted to cover as much as I knew about this new feature. So there's a good chance I'll miss some stuff, and that's fine. If I did, let me know in the comments below what I've missed. But this is there's a lot of stuff out there. So let me talk about what I know and what I've discovered on my own. So. Dynamaxing is something that the players can use once per battle. It is something that makes your Pokemon grow to an enormous size and will give them boosted power throughout the battle as well. So the boosted power is the only thing they've mentioned so far. They didn't talk about any boosted defenses or anything like that, though I imagine that there would have to be a boosted defense of some kind. I don't know how you'd make your Pokemon bigger and stronger but not have any more defense. So to me, that just seems like something that is going to be in the game. It looks like the gym leaders are going to use them against you too. So as you progress through the game, it looks like you'll be encountering these Pokemon battles with Dynamaxing during the gym battles, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Totem Pokemon from Sun and Moon. Just the stronger versions of those Pokemon that, well, in Sun and Moon they really weren't that hard to deal with anyway. But this one has kind of a bigger restriction on it. So while your Pokemon do get bigger and they do get stronger, it only lasts for 3 turns. So that is something to keep in mind, is that it only lasts for 3 turns. Let me go ahead and show you. This is Raichu on your screen here in this trainer battle against... I guess it's 2 trainers fighting each other. This is a Dynamaxed Raichu. Of course, you've probably seen this from the trailers. But he's bigger, he's stronger, and he has access to new moves too, new Dynamax moves. So some of the moves that we've seen, and there's one move that Raichu uses that we're going to get, they kind of split up the effects on that, but we're going to get to see all of it here in a second. But these are some of the moves that Raichu would have access to. Max Lightning, Max Guard, Max Knuckle, and Max Strike. So we get to see kind of a handful of these moves and a few that haven't really been named yet, or that we haven't seen the name of just yet, but we do get to see some of these attacks throughout the course of the trailers and the Treehouse event. So we get to see some of that stuff, which is kind of cool. So we're definitely going to go into that a little bit. So the first thing I want to show off is Max Lightning. So we get to see Max Lightning right here. This Raichu is going to use Max Lightning in just a second. So right about here, he goes into his Max Lightning animation, and that's not the whole thing. We're going to see the first part of this. This is kind of just a strike down of the Lightning Bolt onto the Gyarados. So that's pretty much what we get to see there. As far as the Lightning Bolt goes, it just looks kind of like just a downward strike of lightning. That Gyarados got pretty much messed up. He's 4 times weak to lightning, so that raid battle's over basically. We'll talk about raid battles in a second too, but you can tell this is a wild Pokemon raid battle. So that's Max Lightning. Here we've got a few others too. And I talked about all these. The Max Guard, Max Knuckle, and Max Strike we don't get to see, which is kind of unfortunate, but there are 3 others. We do get to see Max Lightning. We'll see the beginnings of Max Lightning here in a second. It almost looks like an earthquake, but you can tell it's an electric attack. So right here, there's a few other moves. This is the first move that we see has not been named. It looks like a water attack, but I'm guessing like Max Water or Max Jet or something with water. So water type Pokemon, of course, will be able to use that. But it looks like this is the Raichu again using that Max Lightning. And this is the initial effect that will most likely happen. This may be a different attack, but I'm thinking this is just the beginnings of Max Lightning. Though it could be a different attack altogether, so I don't want to say for sure yes or no, but It does look like lightning, to be honest. So I'm guessing that happens and then the lightning strike comes down, but it could be a different attack as well. We also see Raichu use a different attack. We see this attack, which looks a little bit like Hyper Beam, or even potentially like a flying type Pokemon move, like Max Gust or something along those lines. This does look like a Cyclone, a tornado of some kind, so this could be a Max Gust. My initial thought was it was a Hyper Beam, but this very well could be a Max Gust or Whirlwind or something like that. It does hit the Raichu, and you get to see a little bit of that. But then we see like this Max like Protect like move that happens. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well, because it is something that I think the Pokemon are going to have access to, is another Max of some kind of a Protect kind of a move. So we'll see that again in a few minutes during the Wild Pokemon Raid segment of this video. But those are, let's see, I think 1, 2, 3, I believe that's Max Guard actually, and we'll get to see, I don't think that was here. Oh, okay, there it was. So Max Guard, that's what I believe that attack that Pikachu is doing, or Raichu is doing right now. So that's what we're seeing here, I think. The other ones that we're going to see are Max Rockfall and Max Flair from the Treehouse event. We don't get to see Strike or Knuckle, but there's 9 attacks, and we get to see 7 of them, it looks like. So that's kind of cool. The next one that we're going to see is Max Flair, and that is on the Treehouse event. Once I find that, so I think that's right here. We're gonna let this play out for a second. So here's Max Flair. It's obviously a fire type move. Looks a little bit like that Whirlwind move and the water move that we saw just a second ago. It's of course fire based, but it looks a little bit like that. So I will say that there's some interesting things there as far as that attack goes. But then we're gonna get to see Max Rockfall here in a second, and I think that is coming up real soon. Actually, no, we're not gonna see it there. We're gonna see it way back here, right here. So this Steelix is going to use Max Rockfall, and this is from a raid battle that the Treehouse event showed off during E3. This is the Max Rockfall attack, and it obviously does some downward. It's a big rock that just kind of spawns out of the ground and does a downward drop onto all of the. Actually, I think it only attacks one player, because the people who were playing this actually said that. The Ludicolo took damage, but nobody else did. So for me, that kind of indicates it's going to do damage to just one player. It also causes a sandstorm, which is kind of interesting. That rock, or maybe it has potential to cause a sandstorm, but in this case it did. So that's kind of cool. So that's pretty much all the attacks that we saw, that we were able to see in the trailers and the Treehouse event that have been shown so far, and E3 as well. So let's talk a little bit more about Pokemon raids. So raid battles are 4-player Pokemon like raid type events where you take on a Pokemon like this Steelix, in the Dynamax form. Now this Pokemon will stay this way for the entirety of the raid battle, so all 4 of you will have to team up and effectively take out this Dynamax Pokemon for the chance to capture it. Now, from what I saw, it's not like a chance to capture it. Like, it looks like it's a sure thing once you defeat the Pokemon. And I think everybody gets to. They may not want to. They may be able to choose not to. But as far as I know, everybody would get to. And if you capture it, then it's your Pokemon to keep. So of course it'd be just the regular version, but it's still your Pokemon to keep. So. The Pokemon in this raid battle had some different properties. So this Steelix, for example, he was able to use Sand Tomb and Curse, which are 2 attacks that are not Max Dynamax moves. So it was kind of weird to see that initially, but here we're going to see Steelix using Sand Tomb. So just a regular move that I didn't realize Steelix would be able to do. And then he uses Curse shortly after that. So we see 2 different moves from this Steelix that are not Max moves, which is kind of strange. He did have that Max Rockfall, and I think he had Max Guard also, because he uses some kind of a guard ability later on, though that might be triggered by something else. So during raids, your team's Dynamax ability rotates between players each turn, and the group can only use it once per raid. So there's 4 players there, and the ability to use or to activate Dynamax may fall to one of your teammates who might choose to use it or might choose to pass and wait for the next turn. In this case, with these 4 players, it rotated over to the Arcanine, and that player decided to go ahead and use Dynamax to make his Arcanine larger. Now, if he chose not to do that, then he would not have that option for the next turn. It would rotate to the next player. So, kind of interesting. I think it's a good way to look at it. You certainly wouldn't want to give like Togekiss the Dynamax because he doesn't have a type advantage over that Steelix. Ludicolo maybe, but Lucario sure would be a good bet for that. But I think they made the right choice with Arcanine with the Fire type going up against Steel. So yeah, it's going to rotate once. It's going to rotate to a player, but you can only use it once per turn, and of course it will fade away after 3 turns as well. During this Treehouse event, we didn't see that Arcanine ever lose his Dynamax Pokemon, so they just defeated him pretty quickly. So once the Pokemon is at half health, it'll become desperate and have increased aggressiveness. So we do see that with this Steelix, and we're going to see that here in a second if I can get to it real quick. He's actually past it. So I think it's right about here, maybe before that. We'll go back a little bit more. This might actually be where it was. So Steelix used Curse. I think this is about where it is. He basically gets this this aggressive. He has increased aggressiveness, which I'm not sure what that means exactly. But it is a situation where it looks like he gets a protect effect from that. Actually, that happened earlier. Hold on. Let me go back a little bit further. Here we go. So during this time, Steelix was able to use multiple moves per turn. Once he got to this more aggressive state, you see this protect effect that just came up. It was something that I didn't notice my first time watching it, but basically he got hit down to about half health, and once that happened, he turned more aggressive, and then he got this protect effect. Though I don't know if he used it or not. He just got it. So that might be something that you have to watch out for. So yeah, right about there is where he gets it. So yeah, he was able to use during this time. He's able to use multiple moves per turn, and that mysterious barrier triggered at about half health. So the barrier has 5 protect effects that would prevent damage for 5 turns. So as you can see, those purple bars that just showed up there, those are protects basically. So they act just like a protect normally would. So they block damage for 5 turns. So normal attacks basically for 5 turns. Dynamax moves remove 2 gauges when the Pokemon has this effect on it. So you see there's 5 ticks there from that protect effect. Solar Beam is going to take out 1 of them, and then you'll see Arcanine use Max Flair to take out 2 of them here in a second. So kind of interesting how that works out. I don't mind that necessarily. I think it's kind of a fun way to think about kind of a raid battle for an overpowered Pokemon. That's kind of cool. So I think it's definitely something that I want to do when the game comes out. So look forward to my streaming that on Twitch and asking for your help for that. But yeah, so I think that's kind of interesting. In just a second here, we're going to see this Arcanine take out 2 of those ticks. I just wanted to kind of show that off before we move on. But the next thing we're going to be talking about is Gigantamax, which is a new thing that just got talked about just a couple of days ago. Gigantamax is very much like Dynamax, but certain Pokemon will have different forms. And before we move on, this is the 2 ticks. You can see those drop off right there. So just wanted to show that off before we move on. But so Gigantamax is something that Dynamax Pokemon will gain new forms. Certain Dynamax Pokemon under certain situations will gain new forms based on where they are, and I guess maybe there's not really clear how this happens, but it does happen. So some of those Pokemon that are going to get the new forms, and I'll play this here. So we have Alcremie, who gets the new form. Corviknight and Dreadnought, they all get the new form, or a new form, based on Dynamaxing. You're going to see this happen right here. This is Alcremie, the same Pokemon with a new Gigantamax form. So we've got that one, and then I think we show off the other two here as well. So here's Dreadnought and Corviknight as well. So these Pokemon can Dynamax normally. We do see situations where these Pokemon can still come out as normal Dynamax Pokemon. So my guess and my thoughts are that it's either based on a hold item, or it's based on something you learn maybe from the gym leader or something like that. Before they even show off the Dynamax or the Gigantamax, this is where we see a regular Dynamax Alcremie. So it's not something that your Alcremie is always going to default into. It's something that you either have to learn, activate, or I guess attach a hold item to, or something along those lines. So it's not really, I'm not really sure how that works, and they didn't really talk about it. So we'll see as time goes on. But that is the Gigantamax. And there's not much to really talk about as far as that goes. It just got announced a couple of days ago. And we also see another example of a regular evolution right here with Dreadnought. So this is your girl Nessa, the water type gym leader, with Dreadnought as a regular evolution. This is not a Gigantamax. It's a regular Dynamax, not evolution, a regular Dynamax version. No Gigantamax, even though it does have that ability. So I'm guessing that you're going to get access to Dynamax at some point. Maybe not early on in the game, but you will get it maybe after the first gym leader, because they didn't show you fighting the first gym leader with this, though the first gym leader did use it. And it does remind me a little bit of Totem Pokemon for the most part that you can actually control. So that's kind of cool. As far as my thoughts on this, I have to be honest, like I have a really hard time buying into Dynamax Pokemon. It's cool, sure. I mean, it's cool to make your Pokemon large, and it's cool to have them change forms, and it's cool to give them powered up moves, and it's cool to make them power up as far as their fighting abilities and stuff. Like that's cool. I think I've had time to let it kind of settle in a little bit, and I just kind of feel like it's a gimmick. You know, I don't really know what I'm going to get out of it. I mean, it just seems like another way. Like, it seems like Mega Evolution. You know, Mega Evolution was introduced in Pokemon X and Y, and it was kind of cool. I mean, I liked seeing the new, like, forms of these Pokemon, but throughout the entirety of X and Y, I never used it. I never needed to use it because the gym leaders and the trainers and the Elite Four, they weren't that hard. So it wasn't something where I needed to power up my Pokemon to beat them because I was already pretty strong. Now, I'm glad that the gym leaders in this game are using the Dynamax ability. I think that's cool, because now it becomes a strategy of like, oh, they use theirs. Should I use mine? Do I need to use mine? And typically speaking, I think it's one of those things where if the opponent uses theirs, you might as well use yours. You don't always have to, but it seems to me like you might as well. So I think the strategy is going to be very interesting. You know, if someone uses their Dynamax ability, do I need to use mine, or should I wait, or what should I do? It's only going to last 3 turns, so maybe I can wait them out. Maybe I can do something to stall until they revert back, and then use mine and turn the tables. So, you know, I don't know exactly how deep it's going to go, but I think it's neat. It's okay. It's really hard for me to buy into it right now. But though I am glad that the gym leaders and the single player mode are using it. So You guys can feel free to let me know and feel free to disagree in the comments below if you like Dynamaxing, if you think it's really cool, if you have anything to add, or if I missed any of the attacks or anything that you think is worth mentioning about Dynamaxing. Definitely put it in the comments. Hit like and subscribe. I do want to do more videos about the gym leaders coming up pretty soon, about the gym leaders we've seen so far, and anything else I think is worth mentioning about Pokemon Sword and Shield before the games come out in November. And of course, I'll be playing them on my Twitch channel, streaming them live at twitch.tv/L3LAYZE. But I guess that wraps it up. I just wanted to kind of get all the information out there about Dynamaxing and everything that we knew. So I do want to thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you on the Flippity Flip.